Thank you for the opportunity to present for Excellence Award. My project was developed as part of the studio unit Eco Warriors. It is called Productive Commons DIY Urbanism. As part of this project, I'm proposing a design for the development of public land in Gandhinagar and how to make them accessible for its inhabitants. As you can see in the map here, Gandhinagar has almost 35% of its land under public domain, and most of these sectors, the land is clustered in the center. As per the Gandhinagar DB, all the public land within the sector is divided into 5 different zones. These, as you can see on the right, are educational, religious, amenities, and green spaces, wherein it comprises of gardens and parks. However, it is not well defined what can come up within these zones. To understand this better, I went to the parcels to see how they have been further developed. These are images from one of the most developed sector, that is sector 4. Now, if I look at these public lands, many of them are underutilized and sometimes even partially constructed, or they remain undefined in terms of their usages. Also, in many instances, the construction on these land was not more than 100 square meters and the rest of the land lies barren and is an urbanized zone. However, I also saw other inventive uses of public land by people themselves, which had me thinking, what if these zones that are currently allocated in the DP were different, or how these uses could itself become clues for the development that was needed? For example, a sports ground developed by a local community on a land that is intended for a different use, or spaces used for shelter by migrants. Similarly, I also saw vacant land which was utilized for food gardens and for grazing purposes. This also embeds clues of how to develop land creatively and for the people to utilize them. So based on this understanding from the above usages, my concept was to define them better and expand on the current public land zoning. Therefore, the new updated zones are agricultural, ecological, cultural, social, and commercial. As you can see, under the zones, I have mentioned the kind of landscape as well as the supporting infrastructures that can be developed on these land parcels. For example, under ecological zone, you have forests, parks, wetlands, or remediating landscapes, which can be developed. And under supporting infrastructure, you have seed banks or nurseries. So this is a conceptual view of the sector, which shows how and where the zones will be allocated. And if this is further implemented, it can be useful in terms of creating a cyclical loop of inputs and outputs, wherein waste from the households could go into the allotments, produce could be sold locally into the market spaces, and ecological zones will further help in creating a resilient infrastructure that supports different biodiversities while providing essential services. To formalize this system, I have devised a model where people can have access to public land through common resource pool. Under this model, all the public land within the sector will be deposited and can be dynamically viewed on the website. If a sector resident wants to cultivate for his or her benefit, they can visit the website and can lease the particular land parcel they wish, which is available. Now I will show you how it works. I've created a dummy website for Sector 4. It first showcases the amount of private and public land which is deposited within the sector. If you want to grow food in your sector, you can go on the site and click on the agriculture. It shows you the zones that are available. After clicking on the zone that you wish to cultivate in, it redirects you to a page wherein you can see all the available land in the sector. The parcel sizes may vary from 500 square meters to 2000 square meters, such that more people can lease land as per their needs. Once you choose the land that you wish to lease upon and you confirm the selection, it gives you links to download a municipal form, a suggestive planting palette, and a form for public notice for volunteering. One can lease these public lands for a maximum period of 5 years and can utilize them for growing or grazing areas as seen. This CRP model will also show you the updated land percentage in the sector and gives you a suggestive planting palette to get started. Also, it shows the user amenities available within 1 kilometer radius, which the users can use to make productive infrastructures upon. Hence, a possible scenario is now imagined to speculate this development of public land within the sector. The existing public land within the sector has large block sizes, with the largest having 19,000 square meters allocated within it. Thus, the public land was first rearranged to ensure that there were no cul-de-sacs and it creates a more walkable precinct. The larger blocks were divided into smaller blocks to be developed. Then, a pedestrian infrastructure of 2 meter wide was laid onto these public lands. This armature divided the block into smaller plots. As per the zoning, the uses were distributed. To ensure diversity, one can see that a larger piece might have a combination of 2 or more uses. The land parcels in the periphery will be utilized for public infrastructure. such as schools, colleges, hospital, markets, etc. To project a possible grain on these lands, the lands were further developed as per the uses allocated to them. Along with that, spaces within the public land were carved out for migrant community. These spaces will be distributed across the public land in the sector. And lastly, as you can notice that there are also building typologies within these public zones, which are additional developments which will be needed as per the zone's need. For example, in a market space, a resident can build a store. The maximum built-up area depends upon the plot size. However, it cannot exceed more than 40% of the total lot area with a maximum frontage build-out of 50 to 60%. This ensures that the maximum area is dedicated to the productive land use. Based on the land, one can avail any of these modular typologies for shaping the program. It could be a cafe, a barn, a solar kitchen, or even a small market space. These typologies ensure a certain character to the build form and has a light structure which can be dismantled when the ownership changes. The SK plan concentrates upon the built and the urban context. One can see the architecture inside the built form as well as its adjacent open spaces in coherence. The sector will also provide a range of ecosystem services as observed in this catalog. Each sub-use will provide necessary ecosystem services such as provisioning, regulatory, ecological, or cultural to its inhabitants with a multitude of benefits. If this strategy is applied throughout the sector in Gandhinagar, it will give a continuous system of productive infrastructure to the city, wherein all the users will be clustered in the center. Finally, this is a visualization of the sector, a playful landscape of innovative uses. Internal streets will have continuous footpaths. No concrete barricades will be installed on these public lands. And around your societies, you could be surrounded by small forests, farms, or mounds of plays, which invokes a range of possibilities of how these public lands could be developed within the sector. Thank you.